Welcome to the Hangar Talk podcast, Savannah Raskey via Skype. We appreciate you being with us today. Now, you're a little bit of a social media phenomena right here. I've seen some of your videos online. You're a pilot. I know you're an airplane owner. Go ahead and introduce yourself real quick to our podcast audience.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me. My name is Savannah Raskey. I just turned 26 years old. I got my private license in April, and I own a Piper Cherokee 6, so I'm a fresh plane owner. That's been exciting. I'm in the Air National Guard, and I've been in for about 7 years, and my ultimate goal with aviation is to become a KC-135 pilot. So that's where I'm kind of at right now in my career with aviation.
So you got your pilot certificate, you said in April? Is that for real?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you've had your Cherokee 6 for several months now, so it wasn't very long after you got your certificate that you got your Cherokee 6.
Yeah, April. I started my license in January, finished in April, and then got the Cherokee 6 in the summer. So yeah, it was all pretty much like one after another.
Wow, that is incredible. Now you are a hard driving young person, definitely with goals in mind. I think that's really awesome. And I do think you're an inspiration for some of our younger people, and that's one reason why I wanted to have you on the Hangar Talk podcast. So now you started out by saying that you've been in the service for 7 years. Thank you for your service. We appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So how long will it take to be like a KC-135 pilot?
So I actually have an interview coming up at the end of this month. If I get the slot, then it's about 2 years of training before they release you back into the base to fly with them.
Wow, that's fantastic. And so now, while you're doing that, I know you're going to keep both feet in the GA world. Are you going to look at maybe an instrument rating, a commercial rating, and kind of go through that when you have your time off?
Yeah, so right now I've been working on commercial and instrument. I've done all the ground for both. I'm currently flying with commercial. I'm really close to my tech ride, but I've been kind of waiting as well because if I get the pilot slot, then I'll go through their training and get my ratings through them. If I have my private, I don't have to go through that part again. But since I have that, they'll put me through what they have at their training.
I gotcha.
But in the meantime, I'm still working on it just so I'm extra prepared for if I get it. Then I'll go in, knowing a lot.
I gotcha. So you're hedging your bets. You're in the private world. You've got a backup plan. Professionally, You've got your eyes set on the goal down the road. Gotcha.
Right.
All right, so now I know the answer to this question because I know the person, but who's your aviation inspiration?
That would definitely be my dad. I would not be in this world at all if it wasn't for him. He flew F-16s in the Air Force, and then he's huge into general aviation, and he's a United pilot right now. And he really pushed me into this world, and I was really resistant at first. I actually didn't like flying. I didn't want to do it. But then I found the passion for it, and now it's my absolute dream. I just think about it all the time. But he's definitely the one that got me into this world. I'm really grateful for that. Yeah,
I know Captain Bob Raskey. He's a good guy, and we're so glad that you're in the aviation world with him too. And he's actually on our AOPA high school steering board. So I should let people know that he's really big into helping the next generation learn to fly with science, technology, engineering, and math curriculum. And so that was going to lead me to some other questions first before we get down to the fun stuff. Now, how do you think we can do? I mean, can we do a better job, or what do you think we should do about getting more young people involved in aviation?
Yeah. So when I got into this world, I realized that there's kind of a gap between age differences of who's in aviation and who's not in aviation, and I think it's really just being relatable. I think when people see people that are like them, that are doing something they never thought they could do, then it becomes possible. So really, there's a ton of young people out there that are aviators, and they're doing amazing things, but kind of bringing them to the forefront and making people aware of them. And then the younger kids will see that and be like, oh, they can do it, I can do it too. It's like the high school program you guys have, bringing in young kids that are actually pilots. Because, I mean, it's nice to have people to look up to, like mentors, but then when you have someone your age, then it makes it more accessible.
You're right, and I got to admit, I'm on the other end of that age spectrum now. I went flying, much like you, I went flying with my dad when I was younger, and he had a Cherokee 6.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, in 5221 Sierra. So hey, if it's out there somewhere, I'd like to find it one day. So I logged some time in a Cherokee 6 way back then, but it took me a long time professionally before I could afford to get flying lessons, and I earned my private pilot certificate in 2001. I'm seaplane rated, but I'm not a professional pilot like you're headed to be. So. So another thing that I think is really interesting, we talked about it right at the beginning of the program, was and is your beautiful Cherokee 6. And I know there's a little bit of a story about you going to pick that airplane up. Tell us about how you found the plane and how you went and picked up the airplane.
Okay, so actually my dad is the previous owner of the plane. He's had it for about 20 years, I think. He put a lot of heart and soul into it. He has the Piper Cherokee 6 and a twin Aztec. And kind of me getting my license, I was like, Dad, if I get my license, can I take the plane so I can do the rest of my ratings in it? Because I thought it'd be more economical. And I'm just kind of sitting in Florida, so I just wanted to give it some love. And I achieved my license, and he held his end of the bargain. So I went out to Florida, and we did a long cross country together back to Utah. And it was definitely a learning experience. It was my first time ever flying something that big and fast. I got my license in a DA-40, so just a tiny little plane. And I mean, he's a great instructor. He was a CFI, DPE, so he's really good at teaching. But it was a big responsibility kind of taking his baby, his prized possession, and becoming an owner of it. So I wanted to make sure I treated it well and with respect. And he's really meticulous with his maintenance records. And so I had a lot to learn, actually, with becoming a plane owner. Within the first couple of weeks of having it, I had to replace some parts. I got stranded. It's been a learning experience, but I think that's the best way to do it, is having to get thrown into the fire and just kind of figure it out as you go.
Well, and now I don't know if your dad saw your video, but now you put a mustache on that airplane and you were singing Don't Go Breaking My Heart. I think that was by Elton John. Tell me a little bit about that. This is a hilarious, for podcast listeners and for folks who are seeing this on video, this is a great example of what kind of fun you can have with the airplane.
Yeah, so I mean, I was never really into the aviation world growing up. I was more into the arts. So I graduated with a performing arts degree. I love singing and dancing, but I've always loved being in the military too. And as I got more into aviation, I wanted to marry both worlds. I didn't think I had to just be one or the other. I thought I could find a way to make them work together. And so I had all these ideas. I've been making videos for a while. And when I started getting into aviation, I thought I haven't really seen a lot of fun aviation videos. I watch a ton on YouTube that are really informal and instructional and helpful in that sense, but nothing that just kind of makes you smile and makes you curious about flying. So I decided to take my passion for dancing and singing and just kind of make a comical video that would hopefully just brighten people's days and kind of make aviation cool for like the younger people that see that, because people are really into videos these days. Things go viral, and seeing, a girl dancing with a plane, they're like, wow, you can do that? Like, I thought aviation was boring. I thought it was, stressful, which it can be, but I just want to show the more playful, fun side, because there's definitely that side as well.
Well, speaking of fun things, I'm going to run through a few of the videos that really caught my attention. That Lightspeed video that starts out with the Top Gun theme is just crazy. Yeah. It's hilarious. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And
thank you.
Yeah, and you had costume changes with that, and you had a partner in crime in that one. Take us through that.
Yeah, so that was probably one of my first aviation videos. I had a crazy idea. I had just become a pilot. I was really excited. I just kind of wanted to do everything with my plane. I just wanted to use it in every way that I could. And I'd seen these videos on YouTube that were really popular called car karaoke. And so people would do that concept sitting in their car. And I thought, well, let's elevate this and take it to the cockpit. And so I asked people on Instagram for ideas for songs that had to do with flying or aviation. I called my mom, I asked my dad, I just got a group of people to help me with ideas of how I could make this happen. And I enlisted the help of my sister, who thought it was crazy, but she helped me anyways. And it was actually quite the process getting all the costumes. And it was during the middle of summer, and the plane was in the hangar, so we were just roasting inside the cockpit as we were filming this and doing take after take to make it perfect. And I was actually really nervous to put it out there because I'd never seen anything like this. I didn't know if people would think I was a joke or how they would take it. because I am serious about being a pilot and an aviator, but I also wanted to show a fun side too.
Sure.
So I just was kind of nervous. I didn't know if they'd think it was funny, but it actually was my most popular video ever. And it was just so fun to see people smile and say, they wanted to do it in their planes as well and just kind of inspire people. And then I got a lot of messages actually about being a pilot and how they could be a pilot. So it kind of stemmed from that.
So that turned out to be a real interesting way to get more people involved and interested in aviation. It did exactly what you wanted to do, and married your performance background with your aviation background, and it got young people involved.
Exactly, which was my whole goal, my whole reason for putting stuff out there, being silly, being fun, is just to enlight a spark in the young generation to just go after their dreams. I feel like they just watch people doing stuff, but I just kind of challenge them, hey, I can do this, you can do this too. And so I kind of show my struggles through it. I show the fun part just because I think that so many young people have the dream to do this, they just don't think they can. So I just kind of want to be that, proponent that you really can.
So now, how can people find these videos? They probably have to friend you up on Facebook, or are they elsewhere? I couldn't find them on YouTube.
Yeah, so my main platform is Instagram that I use mostly. So I'm the Savvy Traveler on Instagram. Facebook I use a lot. And then I do have a YouTube channel, which I post them on. It's called The Savvy Traveler. But yeah, Facebook and Instagram are pretty much my main platforms. All
right, so Savvy Traveler, if we want to find it on YouTube. And Instagram and Facebook, Savannah Raskey, R-A-S-K-E-Y. All right, we're not nearly done with this via Skype. I just wanted to get that out there so that people would know. All right, so you did something really cool that I thought was it's not in your aviation world, but just as a nice person. And this really struck me as sort of a window into your heart a little bit. But you did something really interesting for your 26th birthday.
Yeah.
Right. Give me the idea for that. 26 things for your 26th birthday, and I guess you started 26 days in front of that.
Right. Yeah.
And unfortunately, our podcast could have been part of that, but I didn't realize that wanting to be on an aviation podcast was one of your goals. But anyway, tell us through all that. Take us through all that.
Yeah. So there's a YouTube group called Guest Theory that I was exposed to, and they're a group of guys that just go out there and they try to seek discomfort is what their motto is. And so I was watching their videos, and I've always really liked the idea of pushing outside your comfort zone and being kind. But after seeing that, I was just inspired. I was like, I'm turning 26 soon. I just have to do something epic. I have to find ways to make this really memorable. So I had the idea to make this video. So I started making a list of things I've always wanted to do, things that were random acts of kindness, or things that would push me outside my comfort zone, because I feel like, your life begins at the end of your comfort zone. So I just really wanted to push myself. It's a new year, new age, like, let's get this. So I made a list, and as I was starting this, I was in the middle of studying for a really important test for my military career. And so I was thinking maybe I shouldn't do it, maybe I should put it off, but there's 24 hours in a day. I can put it up. I can make this happen. So I did it. I stuck with it. I had a lot of doubts at first. I was like, this video is going to be really long. Is anyone going to watch this? Are people really going to care about this? But in the end, this was kind of a journal for me. It was my own diary so that I could look back on it and I could reflect on it, regardless of if anyone really cared about it or watched it. It didn't really matter at that point. It was just really for my own benefit and for the people that were involved's benefit. So I did things like leave positive notes in random places, or I challenged strangers to dance in public, and I went out and I danced in public at the mall. And
that was hilarious. I thought that was great. And all of a sudden there's like groups of people, you're all dancing and nobody knew anybody. So
I was just shocked actually at how nice and willing people are to just go outside their comfort zone and try if you ask them. People just need, a reason to do something. And so it was actually a cool experience. And I grew up really shy. So that's why these challenges really were uncomfortable for me, because I'm not used to putting myself out there. I have been more so with what I do, but a lot of it's behind the screen. A lot of it's, not really in front of people, and going out and asking strangers to do stuff, is really scary. But the more I did it, the more confident I became. And it was just a really cool experience. And I had so much fun, and I've had really positive feedback of people wanting to do 26 things for their birthday and get out there. And it was honestly amazing.
So did you grow up, so I know a little bit about your performance background and dancing and all. Did you grow up wanting to be in sort of the performance arena or in the video production, audio production arena?
So I grew up.
Okay, Warren. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Warren, so Warren, are we back up recording? All right, we're back up recording, just so you know, okay. and we'll edit this stuff. So,
okay.
Well, go ahead and finish. Tell me about that, because I'm curious.
So I grew up really just wanting to be in the performance arena, doing choir, singing. I went to school initially for opera, so that's what I was studying. And then everything I did, I switched my major 5 times just because I was interested in so many things. I just wanted to learn everything, and I didn't want to be stuck to one thing. And so being able to do all the arts and then being introduced to aviation just kind of like found my balance of everything that I ever wanted. And that's kind of like what I want to do now is aviation and performance, and try to find creative ways to use both of those.
That is really interesting. Okay, so I'm going to ask you again, just in case it got cut off, tell me a little bit about, we're talking a little bit about the 26 things for your 26th birthday, and you set up an Instapilot friend fly-in, which is something that's unique. I never heard about that. I think you made this up.
So with Instagram, it's common to do Insta meetups where you connect with someone on Instagram and then you're like, oh, let's go meet up somewhere. And so you'll drive to a certain location. But I had one friend and we lived fairly close for pilots. And so we really wanted to meet up. So we picked a central location where we could fly to. We picked a day where the weather was going to be good. And we're like, okay, let's meet up here at this time with our planes. And we just took off, met up in the Canyonlands, and then cruised around Arches National Park in his plane and just had a lot of fun that way. And it was just really cool to have a friend who's a pilot and just be able to say, hey, we're from different states, but we can meet up in the same day and then go back home. That is really much fun, actually.
That's the uniqueness and that's the appeal of general aviation. It gets you there. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, no arguments about high wing, low wing, because I think your friend had a Cessna, look like.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I saw a little video of you about you were taking some aerobatic lessons, or you were doing some aerobatics. It looked like a decathlon.
It was, yeah.
Tell us about that.
So for me, when I started flying, I didn't like it because I'd get pretty airsick, and so that made it kind of miserable. But over the flights and just being more exposed to it, I totally got over it. I don't get airsick. But then with aerobatics, I tried it and I still get a little queasy. So it's my goal to just, do it as much as I can until it doesn't bother me anymore. And then I really think aerobatics just makes pilots better because it just really gives you good control over your plane. Makes you more confident, how to recover from spins, upset recovery, unusual attitudes. And for me, my main goal as a pilot is just to be as confident, as competent as I can be. Because I feel like when you start to be complacent is when you start to become dangerous. And so I just want to do all the training I can be just for myself so that I know when I take passengers up or when I go up by myself that I'm as safe as I can be. And no matter what happens, I'll be able to make the right decisions.
There you go. Yeah, good point.
Yeah. And with my military training, I wanted to get some aerobatics in just because so I'd be, better suited for what I'm going to have to go through when I get there. So I want to do everything now so that I can get there and just kind of kill it and crush it in training.
That makes sense. I can understand. You know who else got a little queasy, a little airsick right at the beginning of their flying career was Bob Hoover, famed aviation aerobatic pioneer and test pilot.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, all right. So, what's it like flying over the Wasatch?
It's beautiful, honestly. The mountains are super stunning. Especially in this area, we have the valley, so you get like the beautiful lakes and then surrounded by mountains. And right now, the mountains are covered in snow, so you're just flying over just the snow-dusted mountains. The weather's been kind of on and off just because of the snowstorms and icing conditions. But on days like today, it's very clear, it's very still, and when it's beautiful and clear, the winds are calm, and honestly couldn't ask for anything better. In the summer, the plane's a little bit harder to climb over the mountains, but on a good day, you can get up there, it's really warm, and fly over to the lake in Idaho and go boating or something. Just the terrain is amazing, and you have not just the mountains, but you have also the desert too. So you can just fly a little bit further out, and you have all this desert landscape, and then you have Arches National Park, and you have all these different rock formations and the water. So you kind of get a little bit of everything here.
So you're in a very geographically rich environment. I know you like to take photos and videos, so that actually, all that kind of combines with your aviation background. That makes for a real appealing day in the air, I would imagine.
It really does. Every time I get up, I feel like I have the same photo 1,000 times on my camera roll of my wing and like some mountain. But just every time I go up, I'm like, wow, is this real life? This is amazing. One of my favorite places to fly with people is over the Great Salt Lake, because a lot of people don't know this, and I didn't know this until I flew over it, is that half of the lake is actually pink. And you would never know that from the ground, really, and it's because of the bacteria that's in there. And so you go up there, and there's a divide where half of it's blue and half of it's pink, and it's like the most glorious thing. And every time I'm just like, oh, this is amazing. I love it so much.
That sounds really good. I'd love to see that myself in a GA airplane, which I have not yet. But I have been to Arches National Park. It's beautiful. And I've been out to Salt Lake a little bit too. I like to go skiing, so that's kind of fun too.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, so a little bit off topic here, but just so our podcast listeners get to know you a little bit more, I know that you were recently honored by doing something outside of aviation, but it combined one of your loves. You were able to sing the national anthem.
Yeah.
And you sang that to some special folks. And I'm putting you on the carpet right now, but tell me a little bit about that.
So when I enlisted in the Air Force, it's kind of silly to say out loud, but it was actually one of my reasons for enlisting was to sing the national anthem in my uniform. I just really wanted to earn a uniform and sing the national anthem. And I went, and I'm a big believer in you get what you portray, like you get what you put out. So if I'm thinking, okay, this is going to happen, you kind of like make ways to make it happen. And throughout my military career, I've just been blessed with the opportunity to sing all over in my uniform in the national anthem. And it's probably the only thing I really sing nowadays. I sing it so many times. But every time it's really an honor, and I'm so proud and humbled to be able to do it. But I was asked to sing at an Airman of the Year banquet our base puts on every year. And I've sang it for the past 2 years, and so this is my 3rd year singing at it. But we happen to have 2 really special guests from the Pentagon there. We had General Rice and Command Chief Anderson, and they're the commanders of the Air National Guard. And just seeing them there, just seeing them at the banquet was just, breathtaking. You're like, wow, these men, these are inspiring leaders. This is how leaders should be. The way they talk, the way they wanted to connect with us. It was just really, really cool. But after I sang, he actually called me out in front of everybody and had me stand up. And I was just kind of shocked. Like, the general, wants me to stand up, and military rank is a really big thing. And so I'm like, wow, with all those stars on his shoulders, that's pretty big. And I got to sing for him, and I really wanted to go up and talk to him in person afterwards and thank him. And that was one of my goals, to like get over my fear of putting myself out there and like going up and saying hi to somebody. And so I went up to him, and both of him and the chief, they were both super nice, and they congratulated me. They coined me. In the military, when you get a coin, it's like an achievement, it's an honor. People higher up, they have their own special coins they keep with them, and so you kind of collect coins throughout your military career. And so they coined me, and they encouraged me to be a pilot. They said they need more young female pilots in the military, and they look forward to seeing me again. They asked me to sing at another event coming up in Washington, and so it was just the coolest experience ever.
I'm impressed. That's right. Now, you looked a little nervous going into that. You shot some behind-the-scenes video, and because it was such a big deal to you, it meant a lot to you to be in that arena, basically, at that time, and singing that, which was something very close to your heart.
Yeah, I was pretty nervous. I've sang it so many times, but having those people there made it, that much heightened, and just a really cool experience. I was just honestly floored, but I speechless almost. It was like meeting celebrities.
That's a hard song to sing. I've heard the national anthem many times. In my previous life, I was a photojournalist, and so I've heard this literally thousands of times. It is a hard song to get right.
It is. It's pretty difficult for me. I just like to sing it as traditionally as I can, because for me, when I sing, I think about the men and women who have sacrificed all, for our country. And so I want it to be less about my voice and more about portraying the emotion behind the song. So that's what I go in with every time I sing.
And a little bit of history. We're broadcasting this part of the Skype from our beautiful headquarters at Frederick, Maryland, where Francis Scott Key is well known for writing the Star Spangled Banner. So there you go.
Meant to be. That's amazing.
All right, so we're going to wrap it up in just a minute because you've been such a great guest for us. Now, we talked about this a little bit at the outset of the program, Savannah Raskey, but tell me a little bit more about some kind of advice that we can get or give to our younger folks. How do we get, one more time, run through how you think we can get our younger people more involved in aviation?
Yeah, so when I got my license, one of the first videos I made was called How to Be a Pilot. And I was so passionate about getting my license that I just wanted everyone to have that opportunity as well. And I know I've been fortunate in my life with how my background has been and my dad and everything, that my path to aviation isn't going to be everyone's path. But with that, I've seen other paths and how it's accessible. And I've kind of, researched and seen, like, if I didn't have this, how could I get this license still? And I've been blown away by all the opportunities that are out there, but people just don't know. And it could be just because they don't have anyone in their lives that can kind of mentor them and push them. If you want to be a pilot and you don't know any pilots, it just seems impossible. It just seems like the most crazy thing. And so it's been my goal just to be well-versed in what people can do, because my most number one asked question ever is how to be a pilot. And so I get messages all the time asking me for advice, asking me, what schools they should go to. And so I just did my own research. I made that video so I could send that link and then have them come back to me for follow-up questions. I'm no expert. I mean, I got my license in April, right? So I'm not pretending to be an aviation guru, but I just know that with a little bit of research, things are possible to find, and people might not want to look it up themselves, and so they come to someone who they think might know all the answers. And so I just try to be as prepared as I can with those answers.
So, so a good mentor is an important thing to have. That's what you're saying. A
good mentor, I think. I think if you have no aviation connections, reaching out to someone like people do to me, they're like, "You're a pilot. How did you get to where you are?" I think people are scared to ask people questions like that, but honestly, I'm so willing, and I'm just hungry to help people out that way. So find someone, ask them a question. Or if you don't have anyone around, Google how to be a pilot. There's going to be resources online. I'd say, look up website scholarships, Women in Aviation. They have scholarships. FAST has scholarships. AOPA has scholarships. And they're amazing scholarships. And you put in your application, you can just keep applying. And people get awarded those all the time. And so when there's a will, there's a way. I say research 61 schools, 141 schools. And I feel like trying to get people into aviation would be like things like Oshkosh. I went to Oshkosh for the first time, and I made a video of that, and I posted online, and people were like, "This is aviation. This is amazing. Like, I didn't even know this world existed." And kind of breaking those stereotypes, breaking, that glass ceiling of what aviation is and isn't. And I think social media has been really doing a great job of that, and how people are trying to, host fly-ins. I know AOPA does a lot of fly-ins, and it gets the younger kids involved. There's Young Eagles programs, and there's all these programs, and you just have to ask the right people, so start with a mentor, like you said, reach out to people online, and then just kind of show that it's accessible. If someone asks you a question, be willing to help them out. Just be willing to talk about it. I talk about the struggles of aviation too,
Mm-hmm.
It's not all fun and games. It's not just dancing with a plane. It's studying. I have my commercial book right here with me because I'm studying, all the time. And so just being open and upfront. And I think things like this, like doing a podcast and having, younger people come on and talk about it. And they're like, "Oh, this person is young. They did it. I can do it too." It's all about being relatable, I think. And so just, making like content that's more user friendly. Maybe, there's a lot of great content out there that's more technical, and then kind of like dumbing it down a little bit for people just, "Oh, this is a plane. This looks fun. How can I do that?" So just kind of like finding different avenues, finding different ways, just kind of like weasel yourself in there. And I think it's going to get bigger. I think with the younger generation, I see it growing, and I'm excited to be a part of that, that front.
Well, we know there's going to be a lot of opportunity out there for young people in the next generation, because Boeing has come out with their annual jobs report in the past 10 years. They've been doing this more or less, and they have called for literally hundreds of thousands of pilots within the next 20 years. So you're positioning yourself in really well for this. And I do like your ideas of, you said that where there's a will, there's a way. Don't be scared to ask questions of people. And don't forget about scholarships. And you're right, AOPA just upped the ante a little bit. There are now 100 scholarships, over $1 million worth of scholarships. And some are for folks who already have their original, their initial pilot certificate, but are going for a different rating. So there are plenty out there for that. So that's a great idea. Don't forget about the scholarships, especially for folks who might not be exposed to aviation.
Exactly.
Yeah, that might help them get their foot in the door. Well, Savannah Raskey, is there anything else that we didn't ask you besides reminding people that they could go to the Savvy Traveler and find some of your videos? Is there anything else that we didn't ask you that you want to let our podcast listeners know about?
Honestly, I just want to thank you for having me, and I just love AOPA just because of how big proponents you guys are for general aviation. I mean, I love general aviation. I think I got that from my dad. He's a United pilot, but he's never stopped in general aviation. And I think that's a world that, a lot of people might want to be pilots and then they go to the airline world, which is awesome. But I really want to stress it to people that, flying the little planes is amazing and fun. And I get email updates about safety briefings you guys come out with, and just keep learning. I think a motto is a good pilot is always learning.
Oh, yeah.
And so I really want to stress, just take it step by step. If you're starting out getting your pilot's license, take it small, step by step. It's going to get overwhelming, but you can do it. I promise you can do it. And if you already have your license, keep working. Don't just have it and settle, because that's when things get dangerous. And so I'm a big safety proponent, and I like to have fun and show that fun side. But honestly, behind that all, I just want to be the safest pilot I can be.
Those are great words to live by. You've done a great job. I think you really are an inspiration to a lot of folks, a lot of younger folks. And I look forward to seeing you do a lot more with some of your videos and with some of your outreach for the younger generation. And I know professionally you're going to do great.
Thank you.
And I hope you do get that job that slot as a KC-135 pilot out in Utah. We appreciate you, Savannah Raskey. Thanks for coming to the podcast today via Skype. We appreciate it. And we look forward to chatting with you in the near future. Again, the Savvy Traveler, savvytraveler.com, is that it? Or Savvy Traveler on YouTube?
Instagram, YouTube, yeah.
Instagram, YouTube, Savvy Traveler for Savannah Raskey. Thanks again for joining us on the Hangar Talk podcast.
Thanks for having me.